If you're in the automotive business, you definitely know the feeling. Your warehouse is packed to the gills with valuable inventory, but the cash, well, it just isn't flowing. In this explainer, we're going to dive into Phamon. It's a new protocol for global auto trade that's designed to solve this exact problem by turning your stagnant assets into your greatest strength.
So, does this question hit a little too close to home? You've got the assets, you've got the parts, the vehicles, but when it comes time to acquire new stock or even just manage day-to-day operations, you're caught in a serious cash crunch. Believe me, you're not alone, and this situation, it actually has a name.
It's called the global liquidity trap. The source material calls it a perfect storm, and that's exactly what it is. It's this nasty combination of recession fears, regional instability, and currency shortages that just freezes the flow of money, even when you've got perfectly good assets ready to move.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to break down exactly why your capital is frozen. Then, we'll explore a wild idea, how to trade without using cash at all. After that, we'll get into the nuts and bolts, the mechanics of the exchange. We'll see it in action across the globe. And finally, we'll talk about how all of this builds some serious business resilience.
Okay, let's tackle the core problem head-on. Your capital is frozen, and we're going to figure out precisely why your valuable automotive assets are, well, completely stuck in place.
You know what's really happening here is a chain reaction. You've got millions in assets, what the industry calls dead stock, just sitting there, gathering dust. And why? Because your potential buyers are facing the exact same cash shortage you are. So that blocks you from being able to buy the new, in-demand inventory you desperately need. Your business isn't failing, it's just frozen solid.
But what if you could just sidestep the need for cash entirely? This is the huge paradigm shift at the heart of the Phamon protocol. It's about treating your inventory as your new currency.
And this really lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the old model we all know. Slow, risky, and totally dependent on finding that needle in a haystack cash buyer. But on the right, you have the Phamon asset-to-asset, or A2A swap. It's fast, it's direct, and, this is the magic part, it creates its own liquidity. You're no longer waiting on the market, you are the market.
Now, you're probably thinking, what about trades that aren't a perfect one-for-one match? That's a great question. And this is where the swap plus cash model is so smart. If your assets don't have the exact same value, you only need to find cash for the small difference. It dramatically lowers the barrier to getting a deal done.
Okay, this all sounds fantastic in theory, right? But how does it actually work in the real world? Let's get into the mechanics, and we're going to focus on the three pillars that make it all possible: cost, trust, and security.
The whole process is designed to be super direct and put you in control. First, you onboard with a standard Know Your Customer check. Then, and this is key, you list your own inventory at your own valuation. The system respects your expertise. From there, you just find a partner and execute the swap. No middleman, no gatekeepers, just a straight-up peer-to-peer exchange. So, what's the catch? What does it cost? Well, it's a simple, totally transparent 2.5% fee paid by each side of the deal. And that's it. No hidden charges, no complicated tiers, nothing. Just 2.5%. And here's where that number really sinks in. When you put that 2.5% fee up against traditional liquidation methods, wow, auctions and other services can easily take 15, even 20% of your asset's value right off the top. With this model, you keep so much more of your capital working for you. But hey, a low fee doesn't mean much if the deal feels risky, especially when you're trading across borders. This is where the platform's legal framework comes into play. It's the essential trust anchor for the whole system. So, Phamon is registered in Estonia. Why does that matter? Because it means every single transaction operates under predictable, stable EU law. Your digital contracts are legally binding and fully enforceable. For any business owner trading internationally, this is huge. It just removes all that uncertainty, that risk premium that so often kills a promising deal before it even gets off the ground. All right, let's shift gears from how it works to where it works. We're going to look at some real-world examples of how this protocol is unlocking the vital trade corridor that connects the EU, the Middle East, and North Africa, and the rest of the African continent.
First up, let's look at the Middle East. It's a massive trade hub, but it's facing some pretty significant stress right now. For the wholesalers there, Phamon is offering what the source material calls a digital exit strategy.
Think about it. Wholesalers in places like Dubai are sitting on mountains of stock because the traditional export routes are strained.
So instead of waiting forever for a cash buyer who's probably nervous about regional instability, they can now just swap their inventory with partners in Europe or Africa. It keeps their assets productive and, most importantly, keeps their business moving forward.
Now, let's turn to Africa, a continent with absolutely massive demand, but one that is so often crippled by a simple lack of foreign currency. The key here is finding a way to get around those traditional financial roadblocks. Honestly, this is a total game changer for African markets that are dealing with a severe dollar scarcity. A car bond in, say, Kampala can use that swap plus cash model to get a whole shipment of vehicles from Europe. They trade their existing stock and just pay a small cash difference. They completely bypass the incredibly complex and often failing letter of credit system, and just like that, they unlock inventory they could never have accessed before.
So when you put all these pieces together, what does it really add up to? Well, the final piece of this puzzle is about way more than just making a few trades. It's about fundamentally changing your business so it becomes more resilient. It's about going from just surviving a downturn to actually thriving in one. And this right here is the ultimate takeaway. Phamon isn't just another online marketplace. It's a true liquidity protocol. It's a tool that gives the entire automotive industry the power to generate its own liquidity. You're creating a parallel financial system that isn't dependent on the whims of traditional banks or cash markets.
And that provides an incredibly powerful defense against volatility. I mean, whether it's bypassing a recession-fueled cash crunch, dealing with the impact of regional conflicts on your supply chain, or even adapting to future regulations like the end-of-life vehicle laws in Europe, this model helps you stay ahead of the curve.
Ultimately, the goal is to achieve this exact transformation, which is just perfectly summarized right here. It's about taking a market that is stuck, completely frozen by outside economic forces, and turning it into a dynamic, flowing exchange that's powered by the value you already own.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on for your own business. What would change for you? What new opportunities would suddenly open up if you started thinking of your inventory not as idle stock, but as your new, globally accessible bank account?